Okay, perfect. I have some thumbs up, so looks like we are green to go. Let me just recap what we're doing here. I'm going to walk through the features that we've released in 2024. So starting earlier this year, we've had three major releases, and we're going to talk about what we've added for each one of these, and then I'm going to open this up for questions. So you can, uh, once we get to that point, start using the chat feature in YouTube just to type in your questions. And uh, in fact, Juanita, if you would type in a question now just to make sure that the chat feature is working the way we expect, that would be great. And let me turn my camera on as well so you can see me and the presentation here. So 2024 new releases, there's a few things I wanted to point out real quick. Number one is Android and iOS both have upgraded their minimum platform requirements. This is completely out of our control. When we push new feature releases to these platforms, they will only accept builds that target certain minimum levels of their operating systems. And they do this for a variety of reasons. Security is one of them, but also they just, I think, want people to buy the new hardware. But we are doing everything we can do to make sure that our software works on as old hardware as possible, and we do continue to support older platforms, and I'll explain how. But in Android, the latest, or the requirement that they have, is for version 9 or greater of their operating system, which is still several years old. And for iOS, they require you to have iOS version 12. So if you're able to update your tablets or phones to either Android 9 or better or iOS 12 or better, then you'll be able to install the latest iFly EFB software that we're pushing out this year. Next year, those requirements will probably move up a number or two. They keep moving the bar on us. But for Android, we'll continue to have the version 12 release in production on the Android Play Store. So you can always go there and get that version, and we will continue to put software updates, or not software, but data updates out to that version of Android. So it's just in there as iFly EFB, and it'll show it that it's version 12 dot something. I forget what, 12.1 I think, but you won't be able to update. There will not be an update button if you have an older version of Android. On iOS, it's a little different. They completely take the product off of the store. So instead of iFly EFB, you will need to search for iFly EFB Legacy if you have an older version of iOS. And then we did that intentionally before they put this version 12 requirement in. We pushed out a legacy version that works on very old versions of iOS. So you can continue to use our product on those versions, and we'll continue to send new, fresh data every month to those products. Been getting a lot of questions about Windows. That is coming this week. We do have a new Windows installer that's going to make things a little easier. So we've had to do extra development on Windows, and one of our interns, Chris, has been working on that. So we'll see that coming this week. And then this is not available on the iFly GPS hardware. So if you have a 740B or 740 or 720, and we even have a lot of 700s that are still in use, unfortunately these releases aren't available on that. We just capped out the capabilities of that hardware platform. Now if you have the new iFly EFB Aviation tablet, that is Android version 12, and this product works great on that device. So our latest releases are all going onto the Android Aviation tablet. So what have we done? I'm going to pop back and forth between my little bullets here and the app, so you can actually, I'm going to actually demo these things to you. But in version 13, which we released in March of 2024, this was a really big release for us, even though visually it may not have looked that much, because we completely replaced our mapping engine, which is based on OpenGL, which uses all your hardware acceleration. So we're using a completely different chip on your device to actually render the maps. Techies will understand what I'm saying here, but the bottom line is what this means is the maps are smoother and faster. Um, they will also support much higher resolution data, and some of that is yet to be released, but the fact that we've replaced our mapping engine is going to have a lot of future benefits that you'll start seeing rolling out. Vector mode upgrade, which I'm about to show you. We've got a high-res terrain with some nice overlays. We've added the ability to export a flight plan directly to ForeFlight. Now I'm demoing on Windows, so I won't be able to show that directly. But if you have an iOS device, you're going to see a new button that says Export to ForeFlight that lets you just send this direct to ForeFlight. We did add a gyroplane icon by popular request, and we've done a lot of improvements to the Avidyne integration. So if you've been using the Avidyne system for integration, you'll have seen that the ability to share flight plans seamlessly has been improved. And then for the aviation tablet, the iFly EFB aviation tablet, we added support for autopilot, which is a direct hardwire out of the docking station. So let me show you these features now. The mapping engine. In the older versions, version 12, panning and zooming, and I'm not sure how well this is going to come out on YouTube, but there has always been a little bit of lag and a little bit of choppiness as things are re-rendered. No longer, so this is almost instantaneous and just glass smooth when I'm panning and zooming. And you may think, why is that important to me? Well, if you've been using our product for a long time, it's probably not. But if you're a brand new user to our product, this first time experience is important. We really want people to have a sense of this product being, really modern and stable, and so that's one of the reasons we did that. But the other big reason for upgrading our map engine is for, like I mentioned a second ago, we have a lot of future capabilities, higher resolution maps, more complex data on vector mode, things that we're working on now that you'll see rolling out in 2025. The other thing I'd mention was our enhanced vector mode. So we are doing higher resolution imagery in here, in our roads and things like that. But we've also added this shading, which is really nice. These colors are the same exact colors as you would see on a sectional, and it just gives you a sense of texture for all of the terrain. Of course, we still have terrain highlighting, so if I put this in simulation mode, let me just say show simulation controls. This adds my little control to let me pretend like I'm flying the airplane. So I can put some speed. Let me see, what's my altitude? Yeah, we should start seeing some terrain highlights. Yes, I'm too low. Need to turn that on. So we've also increased the resolution of all these terrain highlights. And the terrain highlighting layer, you can turn on and off as always from here. But we have had some feedback from customers that said, I really liked the white background. I don't want to see all the shading. So that is completely configurable. If you click on that little gear, there's an option here to turn on and off the terrain shading. So if you prefer the super high contrast white terrain, you still have access to that. The export that I had mentioned to ForeFlight, if you go into flight plan, more options, and then share export, that's where you're going to see a export to ForeFlight if you're on iOS. On Windows and Android, you'll see this share ForeFlight compatible link, and this will just create a link that you can share either via text message or however you want to do this. Now, people have asked, why would you do this? What's the point of sharing your flight plans to ForeFlight? Well, there are a lot of people using ForeFlight. In fact, we've got a lot of customers that use our product simply for the real plan. They want to be able to plan a long, complex flight, but for various reasons, they're using ForeFlight for navigation. Perhaps they need to for their work, or for for compatibility with their hardware. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of reasons. ForeFlight doesn't have the ability to run real plan like I'm doing right here, so I'm creating a flight plan from this airport in Dallas down to some random airport in southern Florida. We got a funny airplane loaded here. That's fine. So I'm going to hit run real plan, and in just a few seconds it's going to create a route that takes us here, avoiding all the airspaces and picking fuel stops and picking the altitudes, and all this just takes a few seconds. Usually takes a few seconds. I have a funny airplane that I need to create a new profile, so I'll get a chance to show you how easy it is to create a new aircraft profile. So I'm going to enter a tail number, and this is going to be a 172 Skyhawk. Select, update my specs. Okay, so now I've got an aircraft profile that has a climb rate and a climb speed, fuel burns, everything you need here to facilitate this fancy flight planning that we're doing. You can even select a specific airplane for your aircraft. So if you wanted to pick a high wing, for example. So now I've got a different profile, completely different fuel setups here, and I'm going to try again, run real plan. So you'll notice it's finding fuel stops. You'll notice these wind barbs are flicking around here. It's checking winds aloft at a variety of different altitudes. And so now we've got our real plan selected. So all of that is just to show you why sometimes folks are wanting to build their flight plan here and then export it to ForeFlight. Switch back over to VFR mode. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I got a little off topic. Let me make sure I've kind of covered everything I wanted to here, and I believe so. So let's go on to 13.1. This was in April of 2024. One of the big things we added was integration for a Bluetooth device from Android. This is, I wish I had one handy here, but I don't. But there's a tiny little, it's about this big. We've certified one device, and hopefully over time we'll be able to add others. But it's a little Bluetooth to serial device that you can buy, that you mount under your panel and you plug into your autopilot. It's got a serial connection that you can plug directly into your autopilot or anything that receives an NMEA data feed. Once plugged in, you can actually just, in Android anyway, do the NMEA output. And let me show you how this works. Menu, setup, NMEA output, and you can say send to Bluetooth RS-232. Once you enable that, it's going to start driving your autopilot directly from your Android device. So it's going to pump that data wirelessly to that little dongle, and from there it's going to drive your autopilot just as if it was a hardwire, completely wireless. It's very cool. We did some more vector mode upgrades. So the terrain, that's when we added the higher res terrain that I was just showing you. Yeah, some of these are redundant. Sorry about that. So let's go on to the next release, which was 13.2, and this was added in October. So this is the one we just released, and this one was a big exercise. Some really cool things we've added here. Number one is this forecast layer. I'm going to jump straight into that. So I've got a long flight plan here. If I go map mode and forecast, this puts, it overlays on the map several different very valuable pieces of information here. One, and it's all configurable with this little control here. You can move this around as needed. Let me turn simulation mode off real quick. Right now I have flight rules selected, and you can see there's a key on the right side here. What this is telling me is everywhere there's red or blue or pink, these are, red is a VFR condition, or red is IFR. This magenta color is limited IFR, blue is marginal VFR, and green is VFR, green or clear. So we show the green just to kind of show you the transition. But if it's clear, it's VFR, or if it's green, it's VFR. So at a glance, you can see what the conditions are. This is not only showing current conditions, but there's a time slider here. So if I just start sliding this over, it's going to show you what the projected conditions are. That's pretty valuable. If you ever get out to your airfield and it's all socked in and overcast and IFR conditions, you can just slide this slider over to see when the projected conditions are going to change to VFR. You can also drill in here. So we have visibility. This is showing you the visibility conditions specifically, and these numbers are representing miles of visibility. So green is 5 or more, blue is 3 to 5, red is between 1 and 3, and if it's this magenta color, it is less than 1 mile of visibility. Same thing, you can slide through here to see what the projections are. Low ceilings. So if the low ceiling is what's driving the flight rule, again, there's a key that explains what it is here. You can just slide through the time. And then there's a base and top altitudes. So this is not a flight rule thing. This is just showing you the base altitude for all the clouds. And again, they're all color coded. It's a little more complex here because blue is going to be close to the ground, and these orange, red, pink, magenta colors are really high up. So obviously we don't have to worry about any of this. And but the pink and green and stuff, these are a little lower, and the blue is very low. And you can also see the tops of these cloud layers. So base and top. Convective is showing you the forecast for storm conditions. So if there is any projected thunderstorms, the percent low, medium, high is here. And so you can see what those are. Very nice here. And there's a total coverage. Interesting thing about total coverage is you can tap on this to change it to low, which is going to be like 0 to 6,000 feet. Mid coverage, these clouds are between 6 and 12, I believe, or 6 and 15, I forget. And then there's high coverage, which are the really high, so these are the 15,000 and higher. So just a couple of taps, you can cycle between low, medium, and high coverage. And we did that because oftentimes, as a pilot, you know the flight level you're going to be flying, and those are where you're going to be more concerned about the clouds. You can also hit the opacity button if you wanted to adjust the opacity of this layer, and that would affect all of these layers here. So very configurable. Okay, so that's that. We've updated the vertical profile, so this same data is now available in the vertical profile. So if I go to my flight plan and click on altitudes, that's how we get to the planned vertical profile. And you can see a few changes here. Most importantly is the cloud layer has been added. There's two different colors. If it's this light green color, that means it's either few or scattered. So these are dodgeable clouds. This is not considered a ceiling. Let me change my flight plan so that you can see what a ceiling might look like. I remember seeing a bunch of stuff over here. And so these darker clouds are 50% or more coverage, which is considered either broken or overcast. And so these darker colors here are representing an actual ceiling. There's also some layers here that you can turn on and off. Sometimes it can get pretty overwhelming, the stuff we're showing here now. So you can turn these different layers on and off to simplify it. And also, if you tap the flight conditions, you'll see this bar across the top. This is showing you the actual flight conditions for this particular flight at the particular point in the flight. Also notice at the bottom left we have a departure time, and at the right we have an anticipated arrival time. That's based on your aircraft profile, winds aloft, calculating your actual course over the ground. And I wanted to show you something else. Actually, somebody just pointed out the screen's kind of small. Let me get rid of my picture to make that a little bigger. So the bottom left is your departure time. The right, you can schedule your departure time here. And what we're looking at is not actual current conditions. What we're looking at in these clouds are the forecast conditions. So if you depart at 1500 hours, you're going to be in flight for several hours. What we're depicting on this vertical profile is the anticipated conditions based on the forecast when you're at this point in your flight. So you don't have to try and reverse calculate what the conditions are going to be like when you get there. We're calculating that for you and actually showing this. This is true not only of the clouds but of the winds aloft as well. We're showing you the projected winds aloft along your route over time. Okay. PDF flight plan briefings. This is another new feature that has not been fully vetted in Windows, but it is working great in Android and iOS. So we're going to give it a try right now. But if you go to Briefing, Filing, and Get Briefing, it's going to look a little different. You can control how much detail is going to come back in this briefing if you like, and you can select your format. So if you prefer our legacy format, the way we've been displaying briefings, you can select text, or you can select PDF, and then we're going to actually generate a PDF document for you to look at. I'm going to hit Get Briefing, and I actually need to put a real flight plan in here, so let me do something different. I need to go from airport to airport. Okay, so I'm going from TKI to Matthews Ranch. Let's try that. Get Briefing. Okay, and now it's downloaded the briefing, and this is where it's a little different in Windows. This View PDF sometimes doesn't work. Oh, this time it does. So it launched the PDF. Now if you're on your Android or iOS device, the first time you do this, it's going to ask you what do you want to use to view this PDF document, and so just pick whatever you're comfortable with. Oftentimes it'll be like Chrome or Edge, or sometimes you'll have an Adobe PDF reader, or your device might have a PDF reader. It's going to have a list, so just pick the one that you're comfortable with, and you'll only get that if you've never looked at a PDF document. But what I want to point out here is how well organized this document is compared to the way we've been doing it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. So it's got images built in. This is showing you just a thumbnail of what the briefing covered. There's a nice little summary at the top. And as you scroll down, it has the conditions. And this is the official FAA briefing, right? So and this document is going to live on your device after you download it, and it'll be available for you to view on your device through the app, or you can go to the downloads folder. But the document's going to be here, very nicely organized and indexed, so you can click on one of these just to jump directly to a section. Maps are going to be overlaid inside here. Just a much more pleasant way of reviewing this flight briefing. I think this feature is going to get a lot of appreciation when you start using it. We also, I didn't notate this, or maybe I did. There was some performance issues getting briefings through the iFly EFB app. Sometimes you'd hit Get Briefing and it would take 15-30 seconds. that has been resolved. So I think now you're going to see much faster downloads for these integrations. So we've added Say Weather. If you don't know what Say Weather is, that's a company that you can purchase if you're at an airport community or something. You can purchase your own METAR station, and they will install that and they will link it to the internet, and then your METARs are going to be uploaded to the internet, and those will automatically stream down to iFly. Everyone that's using iFly is going to benefit from this because there's a lot more airports all of a sudden that are going to have METAR data. Now, it's not official FAA METAR data, but it's just as good. I mean, weather's weather. So if you see a green dot, that means it's VFR, and so we're going to have more of these dots. That's basically what that means. And then we've done some improvements to flight plan importing and exporting. And basically, there's a couple ways now you can import and export flight plans. One of them is via a deep link. So with some companies, I'm shooting a blank now as the name, but there are sites out there that you can do your own flight planning and then export it. Well, we'll be able to receive those exports now, and if they're supporting our iFly EFB export, then it's just a click and it'll immediately open it up in our flight plan. But there's also several open ways to support. There's a new import from FPL file. Most flight planning systems can export an FPL file, which is a flight plan file. And now you can just go into your iFly, click import, select that file, and it'll open that flight plan. So it'll be much easier to share flight plans. We're going to have some quick tip videos coming out that kind of demonstrate that directly on the devices. Similar to importing, you can also export to a shareable file. And this is going to work a lot better as well, where you can send FPL files to other folks. So if you're doing a big group fly into Oshkosh or something, you can all share the same flight plan. And I do believe that's it for my presentation. I'm going to switch gears here. I'm going to turn my camera back on, and I'm going to go to the questions, see what people might have been asking. Give me just a second. Okay, so I don't see any questions except for Juanita's how is everyone? But if you do have questions, now is the time to ask. One of the things we like to do in these webinars isn't just to give you a show and tell, but to engage with you guys. And it's fine if no one has a question, but typically we do. So if you do have something on your mind, something you need clarification on, doesn't have to be on topic with what we've just talked about. It could be anything related to iFly EFB. Just type it into the chat. There should be a live chat there. And I will answer your questions. This is what I got so far. How is everyone? All right. Well, that is good enough then, folks. I do appreciate you guys watching our webinar. Like I said, this will be available online. So if you ever want to come back and review it, it's going to be on our YouTube channel. And I hope you guys have a blessed day.